I've never been so nervous to do a podcast. Episode number 11. I think my guest is like tripping balls right now, so I'm over here nervous now all of a sudden. Usually I'm not even like that. So thank you guys for tuning in. Episode number 11, the Needed Podcast. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure that you guys subscribe, like, and drop a comment on your favorite part of this video. Time is the most sacred thing to me, man. So this person, it took a lot to get him here. He's always out here, but unfortunately, in the life that we both live, busy all the time, it's hard to make time for these things. But we are here and we are live and we are ready. Shit, I'm so nervous. Jesus Christ.
I'm feeling good now.
You're feeling normal now? The smoothie hit?
Yeah, I'm calm. I'm ready.
All right, so I want to properly introduce you, a king, CEO, and Glamify Me's, what should we say?
Head bitch in charge.
That's a new title right there. The most popular, unpopular person I know, man. One of my favorite people, one of the people that motivate me really to keep going all the time. We always have these conversations on the phone. We do some quick calls. You have a storefront business, you have an online business. So we're always just throwing ideas around and really like picking each other up. And I think in what we do as entrepreneurs, we need those kind of people around us. You know, like not everybody gets it. So, you know, I appreciate you. I don't know if I've told you that before, Leonard, but
thank you. I appreciate
you're here to hear it now. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. I'm a little nervous. Shit. I appreciate the shake.
Thank you. Drinks it.
For those that don't know, like I said, Leonard is the owner, the CEO, really, I should say, of Glamify Me. So explain a little bit about, I guess, introduce yourself to the people that may not know you, because like I said, you're pretty low key from what I know. But the thing is, you know so many people in the industry that you're in, and you're, in my opinion, a very big people person. So I don't know if you've always been like that, but just kind of like throw that out there.
No, I haven't always been like a people person. I find myself being really shy and timid right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the cameras. I've never really been one with the camera, but in person, if you've met me, you know that I'm very like loud and energetic, and that's very important to me in building relationships. It's being able to connect with people. I do that really well in person, and I'm trying to build that confidence to do it over the screen. But I think that'll come with just practice. But I'm Leonard, the CEO of Glamify Me. We have 2 stores, one in Pleasanton, California, and one in Modesto.
Both Northern California, right?
Both Northern California. We're going to take over Northern California before we expand.
Right.
And then we have an online retail store, glamifyme.com, that we launched in the pandemic.
Nice, nice. And where can everybody find you? Is it glamifyme.com?
Yeah, glamifyme.com, Glamify Me on Instagram, Glamify Me across the board, Facebook, YouTube.
Nice. And everything from makeup up to what's really like your guys' niche, I should say. Like what makes you guys stand out compared to the rest? Because obviously a lot of people do have a makeup brand. Yeah. So like really what do you think is making you stand out?
I think it's the people for me, and in my brand, within my brand. We work really hard to build those relationships with our customer and really connect with people and find their wants, needs, and desires, and really help build that confidence by building those relationships. And I think that's kind of what we specialize in, especially in the retail environment. Like you can buy online or you can buy in the retail environment. I think in the retail environment, you want someone that's encouraging you or really kind of like helping you. Right. These decisions. And so that's very important in the retail environment. And so that's what we do well. And I think that's really what makes us different between any other brand, because that is our focus. We do crazy things like pump your own gloss, to meet and greets, to selfies, to anything you can think of that's really involved.
Right. And for those that don't know, my wife, I met Leonard through my wife, and that's where she had the biggest meet and greet ever in Modesto.
Sure. Thousands, honey.
Yeah,
Shut
thousands.
It down.
Yeah, we might have to throw a clip of that on this podcast just so they see, because man, when I tell you guys, it's the craziest meet and greet ever. It really was. Like people flew from out of state.
Yeah, I think
stood in lines for hours.
Yeah, like Kansas, I remember.
Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah.
So shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody that showed up that day, man.
Everyone.
That was an epic moment for sure.
We had the entire family there for sure.
Yeah, we had my family was there, Blanca's family was there, and then of course like the mall was just it was really like a movie. It felt, you know. So that's Leonard's store, and you know you've been doing well. That was your first store, right? Modesto?
Yeah, Modesto was the first store. Started from nothing. Literally working by myself for 6 months straight, talking 9 to 9, no breaks, no lunch, literally greeting every single customer and providing the service individually. to growing into adding team members to now having a team of 10 between both stores and consistently expanding because we're always finding new areas of opportunity, especially with like social media and then the online store and then just having 2 physical locations. There's always an opportunity.
Right. That's so cool to see that, obviously you started from zero and, you're also from Stockton. I don't know if you mentioned that, but Stockton native once again. So, a lot of the people in this first season, I don't know if you caught that, but I did say that it was just a lot of the people that I associate with that are around me, and not many people inspire me. You get me? So like, I think for you to do that, that's a big deal around my circle. And I appreciate like obviously all the motivation and the talks that we have because, it's an up and down business when you're an owner and also an online brand could be a challenge. And you said that you did do that in the pandemic. We're going to get into both things because right now it's a time where everybody wants to be their own boss, but a lot of people don't really know where to start or what it takes. I think we make it look easy, right?
Yeah, for
sure. And they don't really know all the struggles and the shit that we're talking to each other about over the phone when we're going through these things. So just a little bit of background. Like I said, you're from Stockton originally. So just kind of explain kind of like your upbringing in Stockton. What are the things you think? Obviously, a lot of people throw a lot of bad stuff in our city. But what are some of the things you think like really molded you to be who you are right now? Before we get into the good stuff, right? Because a lot of people are going to just say, okay, like it's just a business video and they're going to talk about this stuff. But, I want to really let them know like the things that really build these CEOs.
Yeah. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Stockton. I was actually homeschooled from the 6th grade all the way until I graduated high school. So that was kind of really what kind of shaped me and molded me. I feel like that kind of kept me out of trouble. I think Stockton's known for trouble, but I was able to stay away. But it had its great perks. Mm-hmm. I feel like it really helped me with being a little bit more mature versus people my age, and kind of the way that I work because I was always around adults at home. You know what I mean? So I really was able to kind of fine tune those great qualities as a child, but pick up on those adult qualities very young. And then from there, I think that really kind of shaped me. And it kind of, and the negative or the downside to that is like, it made me really shy. So that's something that I feel like kind of comes through still. If you know me or you've known me, because I do have friends from when I came out of homeschool, which is 18, that know that I was super timid, super shy, all black, like not the same person I am now at all. So
that's crazy, right?
Yeah, super crazy. So I felt like I had to overcompensate too when I kind of came out of being homeschooled and kind of entered the retail field and started to work and meet people and interact with business and things of that nature.
That's interesting that you say that about entering the retail business. You kind of had to break out of that shell. A lot of people nowadays, the ones that know me for a long time, they know I was the same like you, very timid, very shy, never been outspoken, never been the loudest person in the room. But yet now I have a podcast. They're like, that would have just never thought in my life would have a podcast, right? They're like, this guy doesn't even know what to talk about or doesn't ever talk about anything. But and even just being a barber, right? Like we have these good conversations in the chair, and now they're transitioning into being on the screen. And I think that was the most exciting thing for me, to be able to bring the people that I really mess with here and actually have these conversations and then be able to really be heard by so many, right? Because, some videos, they're going to do 30,000 views. Other videos are going to do 5,000 views. But then again, the amount of people that actually got impacted, to me, the views really don't matter. It's more so the message that we're getting across. Moving on into starting your brand, like how did the name come about? Explain a little bit about that, about the process of really just building your brand, because a lot of people are stuck on that right now, right? Like, especially with the pandemic, everybody wanted to start something. A lot of people left their jobs, which also affected us as business owners. So, we'll get into that part and how we've been able to overcome that and maintain it a successful business despite everything.
Oh yeah, so I started Glamify Me in 2018, but prior to that, I mean, I've been in retail since I was 18. My first job was at Best Buy. To quote my manager, she hired me because she felt sorry for me. So similar to right now, I'm like super nervous. You can probably read it in my energy, and I'm trying to shake it off, but sweating a little bit excessively because I'm like, oh my God. But my first manager actually hired me because she felt sorry for me. And I think that came with like my timidness of like, oh my God, having to be around people or pushing myself out of my comfort zone, but turned out to be $1 million employee in that store. So that kind of just sparked a fire in me, like, oh my God, I'm making so much money for other people. I can kind of do it for myself in a way. It kind of started out focused around money, and then now as I've matured and I'm super older and I've been doing this for almost 10 years now, it's the impact in what you can do and how you can really reach more people and what you can do. But from there, starting Glamify Me, I've always been a really big note taker. So I notate everything. If something that you need to know about me is I will notate everything. I have notes, thousands of notes throughout my day. I just notate. So if I have an idea, I'm notating it. And that's kind of how Glamify Me kind of started. The name kind of popped up in my head one day and I just notated it, and you kind of run the idea in your head. Like, I'm just a note taker, but then I let my creativity and my mind run wild. So I'm like, Glamify, and then Glamify Me, or like glam. It kind of started off with glam. Like, right. What? Because I wanted my brand to be big. Like, I imagine my brand being huge. Like, I know we're doing great now, but the vision that I have for my brand, which is so big versus right. Where we're at right now. Like, I see us doing really great things in the near future. But so I really wanted us to not be kind of confined into a small little box. I wanted us to be global. So I felt like I needed a brand beyond just, say, eyelashes or makeup or beauty. I wanted it to be really focused around the client and you guys really, and how we can kind of expand on that. And so I was like into glam, and we were into the makeup industry, and that's where my focus was, being a makeup artist.
Did you work at a makeup store at all?
Yes, I worked for many makeup stores. I worked for quite a few, 4 of them in particular, and just continued to grow that way, kind of helping and learning. I worked for free for a lot of these makeup brands, and kind of
big brands, or
these ones started at smaller boutiques in Stockton, okay. Smaller boutique in Stockton, Modesto, Manteca.
And then a big brand at all, or no?
And then, yeah, we went to working with bigger brands like Beauty Creations, where I've worked alongside Esmeralda a lot. So she's really one of my mentors. She's incredible. If you guys haven't heard of her, I'm sure you have. She's the CEO of Beauty Creations, and honestly, she's killing it. She's killing it. Yeah. She's killing it. And being able to learn alongside her and kind of really put our 2 strengths together and kind of continue to grow alongside her has been a really huge part of my journey, and has helped me get to where I am. And I appreciate that. So we've done I've done expos with her.
We went to China, actually.
We went to China.
So this is the other person that went to China with me and Jose, the person that was in the last episode. If you guys haven't checked that one out, about charging your worth, you guys could check that out. It's the previous episode. But Leonard was actually the person who invited me. It was supposed to be Blanca, me, and then Jose was going to capture everything. But then last minute, I forgot why she couldn't go. I think she was just scared, honestly.
She was scared.
So we ended up taking off, right? The craziest shit ever. I'm going to China. And I think we've never hung out before that. So it was just, everything was new, right? Not just the fact that we were going to another country, but
no, literally everything was new.
The whole thing was new. 16-hour flight. You were in the middle. I was on the window. Crazy ride over there.
Oh my God.
And whatever, the point is that, he pushed me to get out of my comfort zone. I was able to go out there with really like no idea of what I was really going to go do, but it was a really good turnout, and it was a good networking trip for me, for you, and I think obviously our relationship as friends, like we were able to be like, yo, like we click with this stuff, and that's what we kept it going. But it's so cool to hear that you take notes of everything, because the power of the pencil is like so underrated, right? Like a lot of people, you hear these things when you're listening to, let's say, somebody that's telling you about their successful story about how they started or whatnot, but really writing things down is one of the major keys. And I noticed that when I actually don't write stuff down myself, I feel very unorganized.
Yeah, for sure.
Very unorganized in my week or in my day. And, these are habits that we want to make, right, in order to, like, build a brand or whatever the case may be. I think that's something I really did. You were talking about your online brand really, like, becoming bigger in the pandemic, and that's how, me moving out here, for those that don't know, I was cutting hair full time. When I was moving out here, I already knew I wasn't going to do that. So it's like, how am I going to survive? I started the Sharp and Dapper collection brand. It was already started, I believe, but I really like picked it up around that time. That's when we were talking about like brainstorming and stuff. I started to notice that men's care was really just trending at the time too. So it was a good time for me to start building up on it. And then boom, the pandemic hits. And that's when I really started to kind of like trip out, but then at the same time it was like a blessing in disguise because I was doing better online than I was ever doing cutting hair behind the chair. And I started to notice a lot of these guys that were working, you know, obviously at a shop, they were struggling, they were kind of panicking and stuff. And here I am with my brand building, selling products, and it was doing well. So what do you think really flipped that switch for you, like on Glamify Me online?
I think it was the pandemic and the stores closing and kind of it was a level of being forced. And to kind of go back to the idea of like I've always had these incredible ideas for glamifyme.com, but sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing so many things at one time, and I think that's where it's super important to be taking notes because you're not always going to have that $1 million idea in the moment. The idea might be an idea you've already had, and making sure that you're tracking those ideas and having them notated and being able to go back to them and really deep dive in them and bring in some execution. So to jump back into the pandemic and how that helped glamifyme.com, I was at home. We were all at home. I was one of the first stores to close inside the Vintage Fair Mall. With the pandemic, I was really, really scared for everyone's safety. I mean, it was a huge virus. We didn't know what was going on. We thought everyone was dying, so I thought, girl.
Shit, we thought we were the virus coming back from China.
No, literally, I thought we brought it back, but it was intense. And you know, when you are a leader of many people, my biggest thing was everyone's safety. So I sent all my girls home 2 weeks before we went home, and that was like, okay, well, now what?
And everybody goes to you, right? Like, hey, what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? And I felt like I needed to be that positive resource, but in that same time, we still needed to be able to come out of this. I knew it wasn't the end of the world, but it was also a huge change in what we were doing and how we were going to be able to grow and how we were going to live life ultimately. And that's where I was at home for 2 weeks, and that's where you start running those ideas. And I, started thinking new things, but then really refreshing the ideas that we've had. How can we grow? How can we focus? And one of the opportunities is I wasn't investing as much time as I was for the website as I was in the retail environment. So now that I had all that time, it was like, okay, now we need these products stocked. Now we need to promote it. Now we need to create flyers. We just need to really kind of deep dive in and really focus on our opportunities. And so I was able to bring back all my girls about 2 weeks later. Well, we weren't really open. We actually went into the store and we started to transition the store into an online store. So we literally started stocking everything that we had in store online, which takes a tremendous amount of time. And kind of then we started brainstorming ideas because we all wanted to be employed still, but we can't do that when you have two stores that are closed and no income coming in. So
right. And I think were you really, I want to say ahead of the curve, because a lot of people, it took them a while to really snap into reality and say, yo, this shit in the store isn't working. Yeah. Like, how am I going to maintain my business successful despite whatever it is that's going on? Because it's the same thing with me, right? Like the shop storefront, similar to your thing, to your store. And I guess you got to improvise.
No, 100%. I feel like it was like we wasted no time. We took 2 weeks off to kind of allow them to tell us what was going to happen and where we were and what we needed to do. But once we had the guidelines of how we needed to be safe, which was wearing the face mask, using hand sanitizer, doing the extra, we immediately started that, and we got back to work. Like we were never scared about, we were scared, but we weren't like scared that we were going to die or that it was the end of the world. We just knew that we wanted to get back to work, and some of us work better.
Right.
We have routine, and I think that was very big for a lot of my girls because, again, there was a lot of a routine flip up on the outside of work. So to kind of create that routine, we were able to kind of maximize that and kind of get to work. And
I think we're still trying to make it out of the woods. Like it's still not clear area. And shout out to any small business owner out there. Anybody that closed, man. I mean, I feel like super sorry for anybody that lost their business. But sometimes, when there's darkness, there's light. So a lot of people actually turned into something else that they wanted to do, or whatever the case may be. A lot of people found their passion in the pandemic. So many good things also happened. And obviously, you were still able to, be successful with your online business. Same thing for me. So really, like, for somebody that's starting, let's say a storefront, it doesn't really have to be makeup or hair, but what's really your top 5 pieces of advice, like small things,
Okay,
like bullet points, bullet points.
I think the biggest bullet point for me is making sure that as the CEO of whatever you're doing, you're consistently investing in yourself and maintaining a routine. Because I feel like I know the pandemic had a huge impact on the businesses. A lot of businesses closed, but I feel like one of the main reasons and one thing that I noticed among my peers and people that were closing their stores was they were so distraught. There was not enough routine. There was not enough. I think what I'm trying to say is like they kind of they were worn down.
They weren't writing shit down.
They weren't writing shit down.
Though.
They weren't writing shit down, and I think it came down to they were worn down. Like in business, you are going to get beat up. It's not going to be easy. You're always going to be learning something new, and I feel like you can feel run down if you're not in. And I work best in routine. You're going to have to find out what works best for you. But I like waking up early. I like working out. I like eating healthy. I like talking to friends. I like doing certain things that make me feel more motivated in my work environment. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm able to prosper in that area. So I feel like that's my biggest key. And that's what I've noticed amongst my peers and people that I look up to is like, you need to make sure that you're great. So that way everything around you can be great. And I think that comes with having those routines and not letting things beat you up. And how do you pull back so that way when you feel worn down, you don't relay that into your business. It's not bleeding all over the table. Because you are the beacon, you are the head. So the way that you feel and you're going into work and you're laying that energy on the table, people are just going to pick and feed off of that. So I really, really, really try to be the light amongst my group of girls in my business and really try to make sure that I'm always great. So that way I don't feel worn down because I'm normal, I'm human, and I do feel worn down. And the pandemic was...
Yeah. The crazy thing is like, obviously we have a lot of different conversations and I know in those times where you are down and I've been able to be open with you at times where I'm feeling like that, but yet it's important to surround yourself obviously with your own energy and make sure that it's a positive one, but also your surroundings, what you were saying about feeling positive with in your work environments, also like calling friends or like, let's say we hop on a business call and we're just talking about stuff. We pick each other up. I could name a couple of times when you were going through some stuff, other times where I was going through some stuff, same thing, but energy is like a real thing, and I think people just underestimate that so much, man. And a lot of these business topics sometimes that are going to be on the podcast, you guys are going to hear a lot of the same stuff, but it's because that's literally the routine that it is with business, and that's how to maintain a successful business, especially being the head person, man. I can't stress it enough. Like people just go to you, in good times and in bad times.
No, for sure. And I feel like, yeah, I'm just thinking like literally as the CEO, people will ask you how to take the trash out. Like you really, and I think just, yeah. So, I mean, and I don't want to discredit anybody or like really knock down like how hard it was for people to maintain their business. But I think that is a huge key. And my number one is making sure that you're okay. So that way you can be strong for the business, because there are going to be things like this where it kind of knocks you out. You have to let go of people. And how are you going to come back from that?
I like that. I like how you put that together. If you guys haven't noticed, Leonard's really good at talking. And it's funny how he said that.
I'm finally calm.
Yeah. After 20 minutes,
we could redo it all over again.
Take a deep breath. Man, it's crazy. I honestly didn't even expect that you were going to be nervous, but it's cool how you put that together about like not really putting yourself in other people's shoes, and it's so easy to get caught up in that, especially with social media. I know you take your social media breaks. I feel like I don't take enough of them. I feel like sometimes I do need to do that. I think the longest time was probably like maybe a couple of weeks where I was just really MIA, and
and I think
you don't realize how healthy that is for you.
No, for sure, very healthy, because we start to look through a lens that's being fed to us.
Right.
And I think that it kind of comes into the media and all of that, where like how they control the narrative of everything. And I feel like that's with social media. Everyone's kind of controlling their own narrative, and no one's really sharing the downsides of what's going on. So when you're going through a tough period and you see everyone else living on cloud 100 and like they're thriving and prospering, that's only going to bring you further down, because you're comparing yourself, or you are having these thoughts of like, why isn't it happening for me? Or why isn't it? And not necessarily in that context, but like, why are they seeming to be thriving in the middle of a pandemic and my business is struggling? And no one's going to just tell you outright, I mean, unless you're me, that their business is having a hard time. You know what I mean? And I'm very vocal and I'm very open, because you never know who's going to give you that idea. You never know who's going to be able to be like, I tried this, try that. And I'm very open. I'm very transparent when it comes to the business and like, hey, we're having a slow day here. What do you think we can do? And I try to communicate with my team members, and not just my team members, but people outside the business. Like, what are you doing? And I think that's where we've been able to have conversations. Influencers, anybody that's in my circle of communication where I'm like, okay, what's up? This is what's happening.
Even Blanca, like whenever you guys are on FaceTime for like 30 minutes or more and just talking about, your guys' brands and putting ideas together and helping each other out. Like those are really the people that are going to help you. Being open, even though it sounds like something everybody should do, you can't really tell everybody, your problems, and nobody's really going to understand. Like, I'm sure you have a lot of friends that don't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
But then you have people that do. And like I said, every time that we have a talk, it's always a good one. And it's just good to be finally, here doing it. We've only really been doing this episode for like a little over 20 minutes. And I feel like we've talked about so much. You're making my brain hurt, Leonard.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to talk about it a little bit more because I was a little nervous.
What do you feel like people need to know about jumping into an online business? Let's talk a little bit about the online business side, because it's very new to a lot of people. And I feel like right now everybody's really driven to be starting their own online because they see everybody doing it and they see the way things are going. Everybody's scared. Nobody really wants to open up a makeup store or a store in general or a barbershop. I don't even want to open up a second one because I'm just tripping right now about what's going to happen, let alone getting barbers to work in there and whatnot. So what's really your piece of advice for somebody jumping into an online business?
I mean, not just an online business, but my piece of advice to people opening a business, whether it's online or a physical business, is really to make sure that you're capable, because I feel like a lot of people depend on the support of others. And I have a few friends that have started their businesses and they're doing really great, but I feel like we have this naive look to, oh my God, I'm going to start a business and everyone's going to support me and it's going to be green and great. And oh my God. And it's like, no, girl, no, it's not happening like that. I'm going to tell you from experience, you're going to start your business. You're going to have a ton of people jump on ship, and then they're going to be back to focusing on what they need to focus on in their life. And you're going to fade into the background of what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you still have to show up. You still have to show out. And you still have to do great things, whether people that are clapping for you or not.
Right.
And I think that's where a huge focus for Glamify Me came from, because I felt like my focus had always been like finding the next customer and the next client and how I can impact the next person. It was never about like, oh my God, I want all these people around me to support me and we're going to keep growing. And
you have them now, but you have them, but that shouldn't be enough. Right?
Yeah. I'm always looking for the next person. I'm always looking for a little bit more when it comes to that, because yeah.
Hell yeah. I like that.
But yeah, never depend on people. I feel like that is very discouraging. Just like be open and don't take it personal, because at the end of the day, people are doing what they're gonna do. You know what I mean? Everyone's going through their own little field of life and trying to figure it out. And I think from my experience, and like I said, and seeing it from the outside, a lot of people start a business and they're like, oh my God, no one supports me, or I can't do this, I can't do that. And they're kind of like a little like pity party.
Bitter?
Yeah, a little bitter. Because, oh my God, I know this person, they should be supporting me. And it's like,
they didn't like the picture. They didn't comment. They didn't buy.
Still do it. Still post it. Still keep moving forward. Find someone to like the picture. Find someone to buy the product.
And I think people don't really understand that those times right there, when you're able to really overcome those hard moments, that's really the shit that builds you. Not really the successful times, like when you actually open the business or when you have a couple of sales and you're doing okay. Like, you have to literally never put your feet up and put just as much effort, when you're up as when you're down. Definitely I mean, I don't know, literally with business, man, I feel like a lot of the times it's a lot harder. Like it's usually a balance, like either the same or you're usually struggling a little bit more than you are winning. Even though you are winning, like in terms of numbers, but yet there's always a challenge. There's always more, in what you do with the store, you have employees. So sometimes an employee leaves. In my case, a barber leaves, and I have to, to me, it's just like, yo, this shit needs to keep going. Like, we have to get another person in that meets the requirement. So jumping into employees, like, how do you deal with a team, man? I think that's always a big question for a lot of people.
For sure. I think for sure something to look at too is like, my business didn't start with 10 people. I went from an individual and we grew into having a large team, and that comes with challenge and turbulation too. Like, you start as an individual working 9 to 9, and you think that's hard until you have 2 people working under you, and then we can't figure out shifts, or people are calling in, and it just, things keep building up. You're always going to be learning something in business, and I think leadership is the toughest portion for me, and I think a lot of people, because that's really where you get to impact not only the customers but your team members, and building a healthy environment for people to feel like they're thriving and want to do what they're doing, and having a great time doing it. But I mean,
there's really no right
I don't
answer
think
to this
I
question.
don't think there's really right or a right answer to that question, because I do know so many people. I mean, I have friends that have 40 employees, and I have friends that have no employees, and I have me with 10, and I feel like, I think just being true to who you are, and really working from a place of, like, where I always work from is, like, I want the environment to be comfortable for me. Like, if I wouldn't do it, if I wouldn't be involved in that environment, I'm not putting other people in that environment. I feel like that's really worked for me. I feel like people love working for Glamify Me, and I don't know if that's just me tooting my own horn, but I feel like I try to really make that environment fun, exciting, and thrilling. I really try to offer learning experiences and making sure that people feel like they're actually gaining working with me, because you really want people to grow, and I really want my people to grow, because if my people are stagnant, we're going to be stagnant. So I'm always trying to invest in my people. And that quote that goes around that I've heard is basically, what happens if you train them and they leave. You would rather someone great on your team that goes and moves on, versus someone that is no good and is really just kind of rotting the whole crop.
Yeah,
So,
they're a reflection of whatever it is that you're about. It's interesting that you say that about starting from just one employee and then building up. Same thing for me, right? I build up my shop, and it gets to the point where somebody has to get fired or somebody leaves. But I have had a lot of great people leave. Yeah. And they started their own thing. Like, literally, the percentage of people that have opened their business after leaving my shop, it's a pretty high percentage.
That's my favorite thing. I really love that.
And I'm like, damn, this person literally left my business, didn't jump to another shop. Like, they opened their own business after this. So that says a lot. And we're the type of people that are very big people persons, I guess. I don't even know how to say that, but, like, we want to be able to help people. You know what I'm saying? And, like, we really feed off of that. And it's important to obviously not just be the leader, but to continue to, water your grass pretty much. And
for sure.
And everybody's different, man. Like, not everybody's going to have the same qualities as you and the same drive. But they do have to have that vision for whatever it is that you're about.
I will say communication is going to be your biggest key in this area. 1, communicating with people that work with you, and 2, communicating to people that know more than you, so that way you can learn how to do better in that environment. You know what I mean? And having those conversations where you have to hold people accountable, that comes down to communication. Whether it's conflict or non-conflict, you sometimes just have to hold people accountable and coach them and let them know that we could have handled things differently.
You have to have those hard conversations, and also understand when it's time to let somebody go, man. I feel like people don't talk about that enough, but back to what you said about feeling comfortable in your own business, like, that's something that is big, because I would never like to go in my shop, for example, and feel uncomfortable because somebody is working there and they're going about their day like nothing. Like, I'm going to hold you accountable to whatever it is that you're doing. I had to learn how to be that way. Like, unfortunately, you kind of have to be an asshole to an extent, but, nice people literally do finish last. If we don't do that, man, like, yeah, shit gets hard for us quick, and we'll get in our own head, and, man, people run all over you.
Yeah, for sure. So it's being stern and having those conversations, and giving people the opportunity to do better, and sometimes people just don't know how to do better, or they don't want to do better, and I am rooting for you, but have a nice day, and so you go left, I'm going to go right, and we're going to keep on chugging, and that's that, and it doesn't have to be deeper than that. It's just quality.
Hell yeah. Quality over quantity always. And that's why, too, even whenever it is that I'm building my business, whether it's online or in person, I could wait couple of weeks or months until I get somebody, but they have to literally be what I'm looking for. At this point, like, there's nothing less. I think at one point I was just giving people a chance, and you kind of feel bad and you want to do that, but if things ain't working out, like, shit, I'll be 2 employees down at this point until I find that one that probably is worth just as much as 3 decent ones, you know?
And I think that comes with experience. You kind of have to put yourself in that position of, like, oh, I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, or I'm going to give them a second chance. and you kind of get to learn like there's great people, and the great people are gonna get it on this first time. You know what I mean? And so we don't have to give chances to the people that need that extra help or that aren't getting that extra effort or putting that extra effort in. It's kind of like,
Yeah, it's like something you told me. I remember that really stuck with me was when you said, like you want them to meet you or you want to meet them where they're meeting you.
Yeah.
And I think like we shouldn't really have to work harder in order for them to understand what it is that is expected from them. And I think if they tie into whatever it is that we're doing, man, I mean, we're all going to grow together.
For sure.
But everybody's their own individual too. And that's just some insight on what it is to be a leader and to be able to multitask and to create these scenarios to where you are going to like re-inspire your team, keep them going, keep them happy, all this stuff. So it's really all just part of the process. I mean, if we could sit here and talk about it forever because it's just a never ending thing, but I appreciate you for coming through, Leonard. First time really like behind the camera like
first
that.
Time and 38 minutes in, and I'm finally calm, cool, stop sweating. So if I could get a few emojis for that, I'd appreciate it.
Right. Drop a comment. Let us know what you guys learned in this episode. I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people. A lot of people don't really like to dive too much into the business type of episodes because I feel that either they don't have a business or they think it's boring, but this is a fun one. I had a good time. It was funny because you got me nervous, and this is like literally the first episode I've ever felt like that, other than maybe the first one.
Yeah.
Because it was my first one, but it was cool, man. It was good chatting with you, and obviously we're gonna continue to be in touch about anything. If you guys need any type of advice or any questions, make sure you guys drop them below. I feel like these type of episodes, when it comes to business, they could be like multiple episodes because there's just so many things.
Give me a part 2. I won't sweat that next time.
Yeah,
I'll be ready.
We might have to do that in season 2. But thank you for coming through. We are out, and I will catch you guys next Sunday at 7 p.m. Make sure you guys check out Leonard's brand, Glamify Me. I'm going to link everything down below. And make sure you guys go and support, and also in person in Pleasanton and in Modesto. Any last words, Leonard?
Be the bad bitch you are.
Peace. Catch you guys next week.
Bye.